Hi there, all my crafty friends. I'm Donna from Mason Creations, etc., and welcome to my channel. Today I'll be diving into a creative DIY mixed media canvas project that combines the texture of air dry clay with beautiful rub-on transfers. My crafty friend Trina requested a mixed media project similar to the peacock project I did a couple of months ago. Here you go, Trina. This video is for you. So if you're ready, let's make a mess. I'm working with an 8x10 canvas today. And here's the interesting part. I'm going to be working on the back of the canvas. It'll give it a really cool 3D shadow box kind of look. I'm trimming off any of the canvas that's hanging over the edges, and then I'll give the entire back a heavy coat of gesso. I'll let that dry for a couple of hours. I'm gluing any of the canvas that was sticking up. I'm using Pentart paint in the color Country Blue and Dixie Belle paint in the color Cotton, which is white. I'm sponging both colors on my prepared canvas back. I went back and forth with the colors, making the background look very splotchy until I was happy with the way it looked. I sprayed it with a little bit of water, which made the paints move around and soften any of the lines between the paint colors. I painted the inside edge, the top edge, and over the side with the blue color. I'll let that dry for about an hour. This and all the products you're going to see me use today came from decoupagenapkins.com, my wonderful sponsors. If you haven't tried rub-on transfers yet, these are really cool. I'm using Garden Marvels by Redesign. It comes with 3 pages of images and the stick to rub them on with. I'm separating the parts that I'm going to use. I'm not actually sticking them down yet. I'm laying them down lightly and planning where I'm going to put them. I put a couple of the smaller pieces out of the way, and I'm going to start rubbing them on the canvas. You rub it with a stick and lift the plastic as you go. Do this slowly and take your time. As you start to lift, if you see there's still part of the design on the plastic, lay it back down and rub over that area again. I test all the products that I recommend in my videos. I won't recommend anything that I haven't used myself and prefer. If I'm recommending it, you can bet it's a great product. Each product will be listed in my description box below and will have a blue link to make it easy for you to find. Any of the links I provide are safe for you to click on. I'm going to brush on Polyvine multi-surface lacquer over the transfers to seal them. This will keep them from peeling. I'm going to make some embellishments using DOS air dry clay and a beautiful redesigned mold called Aviary. The little flowers in the mold match the flowers that are on the rub-on transfer. I'm adding a little cornstarch to my mold to make the clay release easier. I'm pressing the clay into the mold, then removing the excess with a palette knife. Now I'll put this in the freezer for about 20 minutes. The clay will harden and it'll make it remove from the mold very easily without breaking off any of the little delicate pieces. Before I put it in the freezer, I'm spraying a little bit of water on my finger and smoothing out the edges. And now it's time for the freezer. Fresh out of the freezer, and look how easily they just pop out of the mold. I'm going to let them thaw for just a few minutes. I need them pliable. I'll be gluing the clay pieces to my canvas, going up over the edge and wrapping around the side. I'll have to do this and glue the clay while it's still wet. I'm laying the clay on the edge of the frame and pressing it down, making sure to remove any excess glue that may squeeze out from under the clay. I use either a brush or a Q-tip. I'm making sure to gently press all the edges down so you don't see any gaps when it dries. I did this numerous times and glued the clay each time while it was wet. DecoupageNapkins.com has such a great selection of napkins that you can purchase one at a time. They carry many other craft supplies such as rice paper, paint, clay, molds, and a great selection of Polyvine products. Over 8,000 products and growing. They are wonderful to work with and will send your order out fast. They offer several automatic discounts when checking out. Subscribe to their newsletter by entering your email address and you'll receive 10% off your next order. They are truly your one-stop shop for craft supplies. Make sure you check them out. I'll be leaving links for all the products I use in my description box below. I used another mold to add some additional leaves. There are a couple of them that look pretty similar to the leaves in the transfer. These were pretty easy to unmold, so they didn't need to go in the freezer. I added some additional single flowers here and there to cover up any empty spaces. I want to protect the background while I paint all my embellishments, so I'm giving just the background a coat of Polyvine heavy-duty wood varnish in a satin finish. That way if I make any mistakes, they can just be wiped away. Where are you watching from? Let me know in the comments. It's fun to see what cities and countries you are all watching from. I'm filming from Las Vegas, Nevada in the United States. The small flowers in the transfer are blue and pink, and those are the ones that look like my clay pieces, so I'll be painting the flowers blue and pink to match. I'm using Pentart in the color Rose for my base coat on a portion of the small flowers. I mixed the color Deep Sea with some white to match the little blue flowers. And I'll use this as my base coat. I love these little 2-ounce containers for mixing paint colors. With the lid, it'll stay fresh for a few days, just in case I need to make any touch-ups. If you're enjoying this video, please let me know by hitting that like button. And why not share this with a friend? Thanks for doing that. If you'd like to be notified anytime I upload a new video, click the bell. I'm using Pentart Vintage Green for the base coat on all my foliage. Pentart is one of my favorite paints. They go on thick and creamy with remarkable coverage. I rarely, if ever, have to paint a second coat. There are a few branches mingled in with the flowers and foliage. I'm going to paint them with Pentart Light Brown as my base coat. Now it's time to paint these cute little birds. I'm painting them a base coat of the color Nutmeg. Then I mixed some of the natural buff with water to create a wash for over the brown. I painted his chest Summer Peach. I mixed a little bit of the natural buff with gray to paint their beaks. And a dot of black for their eyes. I mixed some paint in the color Rainy Day with some water to make a wash. I brushed that on the birds to give them a more natural color. Anywhere it was too heavy, I brushed with a dry brush to move the paint around a little bit. I'm going to have some great projects coming up. I'll be doing some mixed media, air dry clay, decoupage, and of course more Christmas projects. You'll want to subscribe so you don't miss any of them. I'm using the colors Palmetto and Hauser Dark Green to do some shading on the leaves. I mixed the paints with some water so it would become more of a wash than a paint. I added the light green to some of the leaves and the dark green to the others. Some of the original green shows through both washes. Send me a comment and let me know what type of project you would like to see next. I love designing projects around your requests. Just be patient with me though, I get a lot of them. I'll definitely get to yours. Sometimes it just takes me a little while. I love hearing from all of you and look forward to reading all your comments and requests. So keep them coming. I added a little bit of the dark green wash to all the brown branches so they're not just a plain brown. I added some white dry brushing on the pink flowers. There's a lot of texture on these flowers, so all I had to do was drag the brush over the top of the flowers and it just highlighted the edges. I did the same thing on the blue flowers using the color Bluebell mixed with a little bit of white. Some of the leaves in the transfer are in black and white. I painted a few of them with Pentart paint and the color Platinum, just for fun. I made sure all my paint was dry, and now I'm giving the entire thing a coat of Polyvine heavy-duty wood varnish in satin. I'm going to be doing some antiquing and need a shiny surface for that. And I let it dry for an hour. The transfer image has a lot of black in it, so I'm going to antique all my clay pieces with a Vintage Effect wash in black. I prefer it a little runny, so I added a little bit of water. I'm brushing it on and around all the clay pieces. And then wiping it off with a soft, dry cloth. It will stay in just the cracks and crevices and wipe off the surface, giving some depth to the piece. I'm able to do this because of the coat of glossy varnish. The canvas area is a little porous, so I'm wiping it off of there as quickly as possible. Antiquing makes your project come to life by adding depth and definition. It takes it from flat to 3D. Remember, when antiquing, always put a coat of glossy varnish on first. Matte paint will grab onto the antique and you'll not be able to wipe any of it off. Now it's time for one of my favorite parts. I'm going to add some metallic wax rubs. I'm adding white pearl to the pink flowers and blue lagoon to the blue flowers. I'm putting a little bit on my finger and rubbing it over the tops of the flowers. This adds a beautiful metallic pearl shimmer. I rub my finger and thumb together to smear around the lump of product. I don't want to put a big glob of it on my piece. I'm adding a little bit of aged brass to the birds, as well as a little bit of old silver. And now some mint sparkle for all the foliage. The metallic wax rubs highlight all the high areas and give it such a beautiful effect. This is one of my favorite techniques. I'm using Pentart gold paint to dot the centers of all the little flowers. I'm using a really tiny brush to add some really tiny dots. After I did the dots on all the clay flowers, I decided to add them to the tiny flowers on the transfer too. I'm going to add some ribbon as a hanger. I made a bow at the top and brought the tails down and glued them on the sides of the canvas. I just love the way this project turned out. I can't wait to hang it. Don't forget, all of the wonderful products I'm using today can be found at my favorite place for craft supplies, decoupagenapkins.com, and I'll leave you links in my description box below. I put together a playlist of some other tutorials you may enjoy. Click the picture on the right to be taken directly to that playlist. I'm so happy you were here with me today, and thanks so much for watching. I can't wait to see you all next week. I'm working on a new project with you in mind. You can subscribe by clicking my picture in the top right corner.